my name is Dave, and I live up in Northern California. And if this is the first time you're meeting me, welcome. I'm glad to meet you. What I wanted to talk about today was I wanted to talk about how I got into economics, get my degree in economics. And the way it started is I was in the Navy, and I had been in there for 4 years, but I'd already been in for about a year. And then I came across a book called Free to Choose by Milton Freeman. It was put out in 1980. And that book really changed me mentally, because I grew up in a very small town, close to Barstow, California. The town I was in was Newberry Springs. And we grew up very poor. I really had really basic information about money, and didn't really understand how anything worked, interest rates and all that stuff. So Free to Choose was an economics book that was based off of Milton Freeman's theory about how free markets work. And they work by what's called the invisible hand that guides all of us by our self-interest to do the best for an economy where it's based on capitalism. So some of the interesting stories that I had heard and read about afterwards and during it was about Russia, which is a controlled dictatorship. And the farm people, the farmers, which I was familiar with farmers because we had those where I was growing up, and my mom was an organic farmer, but they would have government tractors, in government land, and basically the people were only doing their labor, which they weren't super motivated to do, but they were required to do it, for the good of all the people. So sometimes these tractors would break down, and they couldn't get the parts, so the tractor would literally sit in the field, and when they came to plow the next year with the new tractor that they got, they would plow right around the first tractor. So there's a field out there with a tractor in it with a bunch of weeds, is what I imagine, and they're planting around it because there was no self-interest. That tractor did not belong to anybody, it belonged to the state. And so this is the inefficiency of government. And it still goes on today. Even in America, you can see the inefficiencies of government. I know they're talking about Elon Musk is going to be looking at the efficiencies of government, but that's very, very few that you're going to find that. I think that we're going to have some really big moves in that area, and it's going to shock all of us, including myself, because you have a man that's really tied in with AI, and I'm sure there's certain things like that they may say, okay, you can have the FBI or you can have the CIA, but you can't have both of them. They're duplicative, so that's the inefficiency of government. Second thing I remember is during the war in Russia, because there was no self-interest, you'd have, like, say, a screw factory that makes screws, and they were only relying on sending it out by quotas that they had, how much had to be produced every day and where it went. And so there are times in that type of an economy, a dictatorship type economy, that they completely run out of things. And it's because nobody is thinking, oh, I can make some extra screws and then have them in different places. They're only doing what's required by government. And then I think typically the way people think about it is to do the littlest that they have, to share in the workers' share. But what happens in that is that you are equal, you're all equally poor. That's the problem with it. Now, in a capitalistic society, they've said that some people can handle money, other people are terrible at handling money. So even if you took all the money in the world and you made it equal shares to everybody, so everybody had an equal share, in 10 years they would predict that the rich people that are here now would have more of the money, and the poor people would just squander it. Now you see examples of that when people win the lottery, because they just don't have the ability to handle money. They never studied it, they don't know it, and so so they just end up, it's so easy to squander it. The Invisible Hand was originally thought up by Adam Smith in a book that he wrote called Wealth of Nations. And I did read that book. I encourage everybody to take a look at that book. It is incredible about micro and macro economics. Micro being us, like smaller, on a smaller level, individuals, how we market things, how we price things, and then also macroeconomics, which dealt with governments, how governments react with each other. Trade, tariffs. Tariffs are a big thing right now, but what they're used for, and how governments work, how they fund their monetary fund, how we fund our monetary fund. But the interesting thing about this was that book by Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. It's a really thick book, but it's a great read. That book was written in 1776. I remember, here I am, this young, dumb kid, growing up in, let's say, Barstow, California, having really no knowledge about economics other than I get paid and then I would spend the money, and that's pretty much what I knew. But to see something that was written so earlier than my life, and then to see the depth of the knowledge and the thought that he had put into that book was just mind-blowing. And it made me really want to get my degree in economics. That was really the thing, the two books that really changed my mind about it, so that I could understand why do interest rates go up? What does interest that's set by the Fed, how does that affect the economy? And how do you save? How do you save money? How do you invest money? What are we doing with the stock market? These are all really, really interesting things to me, and it's helped me out a lot in my life. Now, I didn't end up being an economist. I ended up getting in construction, and I'm in sales. And sales is actually one of the highest paying jobs in America. And it has to do with not a lot of people can do it or want to do it. And the incentive when you have that restrictive amount of people that want to do it, then it can make you more valuable. And so from real estate agents to pool salesmen to car salesmen, all of these, if you're going to be an employee for somebody, this is where you can make more money. And so that's what drew me into sales, and pool sales just happened kind of naturally for me. But it all started with the Free to Choose by Milton Freeman, and that's a really easy book to read. It's very short, but it's just kind of blew my mind. This really well-known economist had come up with a lot of these theories and trying to explain to you how things work. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know people are going to ask me, why economics, Dave? Well, economics, we've always thought about it like when you take a business class, a finance class, a marketing class, an accounting class. These are areas of study. We used to say like 1 inch wide, but maybe a mile tall. You get into accounting, and you get into accounting, and there's just so much to it. Where economics is really, you learn what a rational man would do, and then you build off of that. So it covers everything, and that's what I really liked about it. I did get a chance to do some of the marketing and financing and accounting classes, and I came back to just really wanting to understand the theory behind economics. And so sometimes I do think it helps me whenever I'm finding out about the trade imbalance between the United States and China, and the real story about China and their poverty level. And so these things it kind of makes sense. When you don't have that knowledge, it seems like everything doesn't make sense. If I didn't have that knowledge, I would probably be like a lot of people that say, I don't even understand what is this going on? Why does the interest rate affect the economy that much? And how does the interest rate go up? what do people think about, interest rate? How does it affect the amount of interest that they pay on a product like, say, a pool? So it's always been of interest to me. That's why I got into economics, and I just wanted to explain it here. If this is the first time that you've heard me and you like it, yeah, please subscribe so you can come back and we can visit again. And other than that, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I'm happy that you found me, and I want you guys to have a great day. Thank you much.